Hands up, Evan! Step out of the tent now! That voice, authoritative, sharp, and echoing across the lake, cut through the silence like a blade. My heart lurched awake before my mind caught up. I unzipped the flap, squinting into a wall of blinding flashlights. Red and blue lights pulsed off the water, reflecting like demonic fireflies. The officer's stance said one thing. He wasn't asking. And right behind him, framed by the glare, stood Lydia Warwick, the HOA president herself, smirking like she'd just staged a coup. "This is private property, Mr. Harper," she said, emphasizing the wrong name on purpose. "You're trespassing on community grounds." My throat went dry. Community grounds? Lydia, this lake's been in my family since before Pine Hollow even existed. "Oh?" she said, feigning innocence. "That's funny." Because, according to these documents, she waved her signature folder like a sword. The Pine Hollow Homeowners Association now maintains stewardship over this area, which means you, sir, are violating our bylaws. The deputy, Luke Carver, shifted awkwardly beside her. He knew it was wrong. I could see it in his eyes. But the power dynamic was clear. Lydia commanded, he obeyed. I stepped out slowly, my breath visible in the cold night air. "Officer, my name is Evan Harper. This is my lake. My grandfather bought this land in 1963. You can look it up in the county archives." Luke hesitated, glancing toward Lydia before muttering, "Let's just keep things calm tonight." "Calm?" I laughed, disbelief spilling out with my breath. "You're standing on Harper Lake, my property, and she's accusing me of trespassing." Lydia's tone hardened. "This is no longer your lake, Mr. Harford. It's a community amenity. We've held events here for months, cleanup drives, fundraisers, family days. Perhaps you'd know that if you participated, instead of hiding out here like a squatter." Her words stung, not because they were true, but because she said them with such polished venom. She'd spent years mastering that HOA tone, the one that makes people feel guilty just for existing. Behind her stood the usual entourage: Nate Powell, puffed up chest and fake authority, Clara Hayes, eyes darting nervously, two more board members I didn't care enough to name. They all wore the HOA's little enamel pins, like toy badges of power. "You've gone too far this time, Lydia," I said, stepping closer. "My grandfather's deed is still valid. You can't override that with some fake paperwork from your little clubhouse." "Fake?" She smiled thinly. "Oh, I assure you, everything has been properly filed. Former Treasurer Harold Vance saw to that before he moved." "Moved?" I scoffed. "He skipped town after being caught siphoning funds, and you're using his name to steal my lake?" Her lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Prove it." The officers tensed, unsure whether to intervene. Lydia's followers murmured among themselves, their breath fogging in the night air. I could feel my pulse drumming in my ears, the mix of fury and helplessness almost intoxicating. That night burned into my memory like a brand. By the time they forced me to pack up my gear, the humiliation had set in. My tent, my cooler, my chair, all thrown haphazardly into the truck under the judgmental glow of HOA flashlights. Lydia stood there, watching, satisfied, as if she'd just conquered enemy territory. When I finally pulled away from the lake, the headlights of her SUV followed me down the dirt road until the reflection disappeared from my rearview mirror. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the barn, the smell of hay and engine oil grounding me in a reality that no longer made sense. The papers were still there, my grandfather's deeds, surveys, the original plat map from 1968 with his signature at the bottom, my family's name, our land. And then I found it, a letter from 5 years ago. The HOA had asked him to donate the lake to the community. He'd refused, writing in neat cursive, "Private property is not a community suggestion." I should have stopped there, but then came the text. "Unknown number. Check your barn tomorrow morning. LW." I froze. Lydia's initials. At dawn, I went out with my flashlight. The morning fog was thick, swallowing sound. The barn door groaned when I pushed it open, and there, Just beyond the threshold was a small bonfire still smoking. In the ashes, pieces of paper blackened and curling. Among them, something that hadn't burned. Her folder, pristine, placed perfectly like a dare. That was when I realized this wasn't about paperwork. It was about domination. Lydia wasn't trying to win legally. She was trying to break me psychologically. A week later, I walked into the HOA office. If she wanted a war, I'd give her one. The place looked like a courtroom for the self-righteous. Framed photos of Lydia shaking hands with local politicians, a Community Excellence Award, and a massive map of Pine Hollow with my property circled 3 times in red marker. When I stepped in, the room went silent. Lydia sat at the head of the table, her signature navy suit immaculate, her smile weaponized. "Well," she purred, "if it isn't Mr. Harford, or should I say, Harper, according to your papers." "Funny," I said, dropping my folder onto the table with a heavy thud. "That's the name written on the original deed, signed by the county clerk, sealed, notarized. You want to see it?" "Oh, I'm sure you've got plenty of creative paperwork." Her laugh was a blade. The board members stared at me as if I'd just brought a gun to a meeting. Nate Powell crossed his arms, glaring. "You're not even supposed to be here. This is a members-only meeting." "I'm a landowner," I said, stepping forward. "That makes me more of a member than any of you." A murmur rippled through the room. Lydia's expression flickered, just for a moment, but she recovered fast. "The land was yours." Past tense. "The HOA's stewardship gives us administrative control." "Stewardship?" I said, laughing bitterly. "You mean theft wrapped in paperwork?" That's when she leaned forward. "You don't understand how this works, Mr. Harper. When the majority decides what's best for the community, one man's opinion doesn't matter. Then it's not a community." I shot back. "It's a dictatorship with landscaping rules." The silence that followed was electric. Even Nate didn't know what to say. Then, from the back of the room, a quiet voice cut through the tension. "She's been collecting event fees. You know." I turned. It was Sophia Bennett, the new girl in Pine Hollow, the one always filming on her phone. "What did you just say?" Sophia met my eyes, her voice steady. "She's been using your lake for paid events. Thousands of dollars. None of it shows up in the HOA's financial reports." Lydia's head snapped toward her. "Miss Bennett, you are out of order." "I'm just telling the truth," Sophia said, holding her phone low but recording. The room erupted. Lydia slammed her hand on the table, demanding order. But it was too late. The cracks in her perfect facade were starting to show. That night, I couldn't shake Sophia's words. I pulled up the HOA's public reports online. The math didn't add up. Thousands missing under vague labels like community enhancement funds. The next morning, a letter arrived from Lydia's attorney. "Cease all harassment of the HOA. Failure to comply will result in legal action and retroactive usage fees totaling $50,000. I laughed out loud. They're charging me for using my own land? The audacity was almost impressive. But beneath the anger was something else. Resolve. If Lydia thought intimidation would make me fold, she'd misjudged the wrong man. Sophia and I met at a small coffee shop on Main Street. She wore a hoodie, sunglasses, and the look of someone who knew too much. "She's been manipulating this place for years," she whispered. "Fake violations, secret fundraisers, hush payments. I've got proof, but we need more." She showed me her screen, videos, screenshots, emails, all pointing to one thing. Lydia's greed ran deep. "Then we hit her where it hurts," I said. "Facts and law." We leaned over the table, plotting like conspirators. The people around us laughed, sipped lattes, completely unaware they were sitting next to a war council. That evening, I drove back to the lake. The air was sharp, heavy with the smell of pine and damp earth. I carried my grandfather's old map, comparing it to the new survey markers, and froze. They'd moved by at least 20 feet. Someone had physically shifted the boundary posts, hammering new ones into the soil. I crouched down, fingers tracing the disturbed dirt. My pulse spiked. They weren't just lying, they were erasing me. 1 inch at a time. Headlights flared behind me. A truck roared past, and a voice shouted through the open window, "This lake belongs to us now, Harper. Give it up." Gravel stung my face as they sped away. My hands trembled, but not from fear, from rage. The next morning, I hired a professional surveyor. He spent hours measuring, comparing, muttering under his breath. When he finally looked up, he said the words that sealed Lydia's fate. "Your property line's been tampered with recently." He handed me the official report. I stared at it, the ink still drying, and felt something I hadn't felt since that night at the lake. Clarity. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a heist disguised as community service. And I was done playing nice. I'd been polite, patient, reasonable. That was over. The next Saturday, Lydia decided to make it personal. I woke to find the sound of laughter echoing from the lake. Dozens of residents stood around picnic tables, sipping mimosas under a banner that read, "Pine Hollow HOA Summer Appreciation Event, sponsored by President Lydia Warrick." My lake looked like a carnival. Kids splashing, speakers blasting, drones filming the chaos for her social feed. And right beside the dock, my dock, a smaller sign, "Evan Harper, not welcome." I almost laughed at the audacity. Almost. Sophia texted me a photo. "They're live streaming this." Tagline says, "Community-owned lake." I drove down anyway. The closer I got, the more it felt like trespassing on my own memories. Every splash, every laugh twisted in my gut like a betrayal. When I stepped out of my truck, Lydia was waiting, wine glass in hand, sunglasses reflecting my furious face. Well, well. "The guest of dishonor," she said, her voice dripping honey and poison in equal measure. "Care to join the festivities?" I forced a smile. "You're trespassing, Lydia." Again. Her smile didn't budge. "Correction, the community is celebrating. You're welcome to leave." Nate Powell strutted up beside her, acting like her bodyguard. "You heard her, Harper. You don't belong here anymore." I leaned in just enough that he could see the fire in my eyes. "Say that again, and I'll make sure a judge tells you exactly where I belong." He blinked but didn't step back. Lydia, sensing the rising tension, raised her glass. "No need to get hostile. Gentlemen, we're all civilized here. Civilized people don't steal property lines in the middle of the night," I shot back. Her smirk faltered for half a second, a small crack, but enough to confirm what I already knew. That night, I found a torn piece of fabric caught on the broken section of my fence, embroidered on it, Lydia's company logo. My proof was literally hanging there, flapping in the wind like a guilty flag. Later that evening, an old pickup truck rolled down my driveway, headlights dim, engine sputtering like an old smoker clearing his throat. Behind the wheel was Walter Grayson, 70 years old, wearing a faded baseball cap and the kind of grin you only earn after surviving too much nonsense. He stepped out, holding a greasy pizza box. "Hope you're hungry, son." "I'm not in the mood for dinner," I muttered. "Good," he said, flipping open the box. Inside weren't slices, but maps. Hand-drawn surveys, faded deeds, yellowed county forms. I brought something better. Walter had lived next door longer than the HOA itself had existed. He'd watched Lydia's predecessors rise and fall like bad TV reruns. "Your grandpa was a hell of a man," he said, thumbing through papers. "Saved my life once, back when this lake froze solid. Pulled me out with his bare hands. You remind me of him, stubborn as a rock." I smiled faintly. "Guess it runs in the family," he chuckled. "That it does. But listen here. Lydia's been trying this game for years. Hell, the county pulled the same trick on me 20 years back. Tried to call my creek public access. What happened?" He grinned, eyes gleaming with mischief. "Showed up to court with manure on my boots and a law degree in my briefcase. Judge never saw it coming." As ridiculous as he sounded, the man knew his stuff. He'd kept boxes of old legal cases proving the county's history of fraudulent land grabs. "Your grandpa made me a witness for all his paperwork," Walter said. "Did it right. The old man had foresight. Only problem is," he tapped his head, I ain't as organized as I used to be. Might have misplaced a few things that could resurface if necessary. His wink told me everything. Walter was a relic of Pine Hollow's past, and possibly my best shot at saving its future. Sophia called later that night, voice buzzing with adrenaline. You need to see this. She sent me screenshots from a property management seminar 5 years ago. There, in high definition, was Lydia, taking notes under a banner that read, Maximizing HOA Revenue Through Creative Asset Management. The guy who hosted that? Sophia said. Convicted of fraud. He taught HOAs how to illegally seize property under community use. Lydia's been planning this for years. I stared at the photo, the truth sinking in. So, this isn't about control. No, Sophia said. It's about money. The next HOA meeting was a circus. Every chair filled, residents whispering like they'd come to watch a public execution. Lydia opened with her trademark charm. We are gathered here to resolve the ongoing disturbance caused by one Mr. Harper. Disturbance? I said, standing. You mean defending my property from theft? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lydia held up her folder. I have documentation proving this lake has been a community asset for over 3 years. 3 years, I echoed. Funny, because that's exactly when my grandfather passed away. She ignored me. The HOA has every right to maintain public access and charge maintenance fees. I dropped my own folder on the table, heavier, thicker, stamped with county seals. This is the original deed, survey lines. Witness affidavits. You're running a scam, Lydia, and I can prove it. Her laugh was brittle. You can claim anything you like, Mr. Harper, but I operate within the law. The community agrees with me. Sophia, seated in the back, whispered to her camera. Not for long. The tension crackled. Then Clara Hayes, always quiet, always careful, finally spoke up. Lydia, where exactly are the Vance documents you keep referencing? Lydia froze for half a breath before replying. They're in legal storage. Legal storage? Clara pressed. Or non-existent. Lydia's glare could have burned steel. The meeting ended with shouting, gavel slamming, and Nate threatening to press charges for harassment. But the damage was done. The cracks were spreading. That night, Sophia uploaded a new vlog titled The HOA That Lied. Within hours, Pine Hollow's community board exploded. Residents commented about mysterious fines, missing records, and questionable fundraising. The tide was turning. But Lydia wasn't the type to drown quietly. The next day, trucks arrived at dawn, men in neon vests unloading fencing materials. I sprinted out to the shore. Who sent you? I demanded. The HOA, the foreman replied, eyes flicking to his clipboard. Said it's community safety work. I shoved the surveyor's report into his hands. You're trespassing. These boundaries are illegal. The foreman scanned the paper, confusion twisting his face. Lady told us it was cleared with the county. She lied. One of the workers, a younger man with dirt on his face, looked between us and muttered, My dad lost his farm to eminent domain. This don't feel right. I nodded. You're right. Don't let her make you part of it. Something shifted. The crew exchanged glances, then started packing up. Nate came storming down the hill, red-faced and barking orders, but they ignored him. Walter leaned against his truck, grinning. Seems your words still carry weight, son. Later that day, Walter brought another folder, one that changed everything. Emails, contracts, internal memos between Lydia and her contractors. The language was surgical. Acquire, neutralize, reclaim assets. It read like a corporate takeover. She's not running a homeowners association, Walter said. She's running a business empire. Sophia's phone buzzed nonstop. Her latest vlog had gone viral. Residents from other neighborhoods were sharing their own stories of Lydia's tactics, phony citations, arbitrary fines, intimidation. For the first time, people were questioning her authority. But Lydia, backed into a corner, lashed out harder. That night, I heard the screech of tires outside. A truck sped past, headlights off. Then, bang, a fence post snapped, and something heavy splashed into the lake. The next morning, my mailbox held another letter, thicker this time, printed on expensive stationery. Notice of civil action. The Pine Hollow HOA intends to pursue damages for defamation, interference with community operations, and emotional distress. I read it twice, then laughed. She was suing me for being right. Sophia met me at the coffee shop again, eyes alight with determination. "We can fight this," she said. "You've got evidence. And now, you've got witnesses." Walter raised his cup from the next booth. "Damn right he does." It was the first time in weeks that I smiled. That night, I camped by the lake again. Not to relax, but to reclaim. Walter parked nearby with his old thermos of coffee. Sophia set up her tripod for documentation. The moon hung low, mirrored perfectly in the still water. For a brief moment, I could almost feel my grandfather there beside me. Then, in the distance, engines roared. 3 trucks rolled in, headlights off, slowing near the fence line. Men jumped out with shovels and posts. I recorded everything. When I approached, one man hesitated. Boss said this was community work. "Who's your boss?" I asked. He looked guilty. "Lady named Lydia." "Thought so," I said. "Here's my lawyer's card. You'll want to keep it when this hits court." They froze, realizing they'd been caught. Within minutes, they packed up and drove off, leaving behind their tools and a pile of guilt. Walter whistled softly. "She's getting desperate. She's getting cornered," I corrected. The following morning, Lydia held a press conference, right at my lake. She stood there in front of local news cameras, announcing a new community recreation expansion project. Every word was another lie. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Because I had something she didn't. The truth. And people willing to help me prove it. And soon, the whole town would see the monster hiding behind her perfect smile. The monster hiding behind her perfect smile was finally cornered, and she knew it. But a wounded predator is always the most dangerous kind. 2 nights later, headlights swept across my driveway again. This time, the intruder wasn't some faceless contractor. It was Clara Hayes, the board member who'd always looked uneasy when Lydia spoke. She stepped out, clutching a flash drive, her hands trembling. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. "But you need to see what's on this before she destroys it." "What is it?" I asked. "Security footage from the night your fence was cut." I took the drive, my pulse hammering. "You're risking a lot, Clara," she nodded. "So are you. But this," she gestured to the lake behind me, shimmering under the moonlight. "This used to be beautiful. It's time someone stopped her." Then she was gone, tires crunching down the gravel road like a guilty heartbeat. I plugged the drive into my laptop, the glow of the screen painting my face blue. The footage was grainy, time-stamped 2:07 a.m. A truck idled by my property. 2 figures stepped out, one male, one female. They carried bolt cutters, flashlights, and confidence. When the woman stepped into the headlight beam, I froze. Silver hair, navy jacket with Lydia's company logo. "Got it," she said on the video, her voice crisp even through the static. "Move faster. We're behind schedule." The other voice, Nate's, muttered something about getting caught. "Let him try," Lydia replied. "By the time he figures it out, the paperwork will make it look like his fault." My stomach turned. It wasn't just sabotage, it was premeditated. As I copied the footage to multiple drives, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Nice try, Harper. You're playing in my sandbox now." Attached was a photo of the flash drive in my hand, taken from outside my window. I lunged for the curtain, heart pounding. Nothing but darkness. No movement. Just the whisper of the wind through pine trees. Lydia wasn't fighting fair anymore. The next morning, Pine Hollow buzzed with gossip. Lydia had called an emergency community meeting to discuss what she called ongoing threats from an unstable resident. That unstable resident was me. When I arrived, the setup was pure theater. Folding chairs lined up courtroom style. Lydia at the front, flanked by her board like a royal council. Even Deputy Luke stood to the side in uniform, face pale and jaw tight. "Mr. Harper," Lydia began sweetly, "thank you for joining us. I know this must be difficult for you." "Not as difficult as watching you lie to an entire neighborhood," I said. Gasps fluttered through the crowd. She didn't flinch. Mr. Harper, she continued, ignoring me, has engaged in repeated harassment of the HOA and its members. Our goal today is to ensure the safety and harmony of Pine Hollow. Then she nodded to Luke. His voice was robotic, drained of life. I've personally witnessed Mr. Harper becoming increasingly aggressive during our interactions. I fear escalation. It was like being punched in the chest. Luke, the one cop who'd shown hesitation before, was now reading from her script. I stared at him. You know that's not true. He looked down. I'm sorry. Lydia smiled. You see? Even law enforcement agrees. For the safety of this community, I move that Mr. Harper be banned from all HOA property, effective immediately. Seconded, Nate barked. The gavel slammed down before I could respond. Applause erupted from Lydia's supporters. But behind them, I saw doubt flicker on Clara's face and pity on Luke's. After the meeting, I caught Luke in the parking lot. You know this is wrong, I said quietly. He exhaled, shoulders sagging. She's got me trapped, Evan. His voice cracked. She knows about my DUI. If it goes public, I lose my badge and custody of my kids. My anger evaporated, replaced by something colder. Understanding. Lydia didn't just manipulate people. She owned them. Luke met my eyes. Be careful. She's planning something big. What kind of something? He hesitated. She mentioned the lake. Something that'll make you the villain for good. Then he walked away, leaving me under the flickering streetlight with more questions than answers. Sophia and Walter had skipped the meeting, choosing infiltration over confrontation. That night, they showed up at my place with wide grins and dusty hands. Found the Vance files, Walter said, slapping a folder onto my table. Turns out, the man didn't skip town. He was investigating Lydia for embezzlement before he disappeared. Sophia spread out the papers, her eyes gleaming. These notes mention multiple property grabs, fake citations, and missing HOA funds. She's been building this empire for years. I scanned the documents. The web of fraud was staggering. Shell accounts, phantom contractors, fake invoices. She's not just corrupt, I said slowly. She's industrial scale corrupt. Sophia smiled grimly. And now we can prove it. But Lydia struck first. 2 days later, my ranch gate was spray painted with red letters, "Leave now, Harford." My truck tires were slashed at work. Someone called my mother, telling her I was under criminal investigation. The pressure was surgical, psychological warfare designed to break me without drawing blood. I stopped sleeping. Every sound outside felt like a threat. Even Sophia's optimism began to crack. She's unhinged, Evan, she said one night. People like her don't stop. They implode and take everyone down with them. But I couldn't walk away. This wasn't just about land anymore. It was about freedom and maybe justice. Days later, Clara found me in the grocery store, pretending to compare apples. Her voice was barely a whisper. The county assessor's been visiting Lydia's office after hours. Something about property transfers. I frowned. Transfers? She's planning something. Fast. And people are scared to question her. Some residents said their signatures were forged on that petition she showed the board. That was the first real crack in Lydia's control. If the community started doubting her, the empire would crumble from within. That night, I uploaded everything. Deeds, video, photos, texts, into a secure cloud server. If anything happened to me, the truth wouldn't die. Walter called just before midnight. His voice was sharp, urgent. Found something in my attic, son. Papers from your grandpa. Stuff even I forgot existed. You'll want to see this tomorrow. He refused to say more, just laughed softly. Your old man was smarter than the whole county combined. But before I could meet him, Lydia made her move. The next morning, my phone blew up. Texts, calls, notifications. Sophia's voice came through first, breathless. You need to get to the lake, now. When I arrived, the scene was surreal. News vans, environmental inspectors, a crowd of residents clutching signs that read, "Protect our lake." At the center stood Lydia, tears streaming down her perfectly powdered cheeks. Evan Harper, she declared to the cameras, has contaminated our community water source. Look at this oil slick. He's destroying what we built together. My stomach dropped. She'd staged it. Barrels of chemical waste bobbed near the shore, their labels conveniently visible. Are you insane? I shouted. I've never... Enough, she interrupted, turning dramatically toward the cameras. We have evidence, don't we, Deputy? Luke looked trapped. We're investigating all possibilities, he said stiffly. She pressed on. Our families swim here. Our children play here. This man's negligence has poisoned us! The crowd murmured angrily. The narrative had been flipped overnight. But Sophia, bless her fearless heart, was already filming. She zoomed in on the barrels. Later, when we reviewed the footage, we saw it, a half-torn logo, Lydia's old real estate company. She hadn't just framed me. She'd used her own supplies to fake the contamination. By evening, the environmental team confirmed what I suspected. The chemicals were fresh, less than 12 hours old, and didn't match anything on my property. Walter arrived just before dusk, a battered folder under his arm. Boy, he said, breathless, this is what your grandpa was talking about. It's a conservation easement. He and I helped write it in the 70 seconds. Legally protects this land from any development or transfer, permanently. I blinked. So the HOA can't touch it? He grinned. They can try, but that would be a federal crime. Sophia was already typing furiously. This changes everything. We can expose her. That night, we set up hidden cameras around the lake, just in case she tried another stunt. Around midnight, Walter nudged me. Truck, incoming. Through the binoculars, we watched headlights crawl toward the water. Two figures in hazmat suits emerged, lifting barrels into the truck bed. One of them paused, pulling back her hood. Lydia, caught in perfect night vision clarity. She's cleaning up her own mess, Sophia whispered, filming every second. When the truck pulled away, we stayed silent. The only sound, the click of the camera. The next morning, the county inspector arrived, not Lydia's usual contact, but a replacement she didn't expect. He took one look at the scene and frowned. Fresh contamination, missing barrels, no source trail, he muttered. This smells like fraud. When he traced the chemical batch numbers, his jaw tightened. These were purchased under Lydia Warwick's company name. For the first time, Lydia's mask cracked. That's impossible, she shouted. He must have stolen them. But the inspector only raised an eyebrow. From your locked storage unit? The room went dead quiet, and for the first time, Lydia had no script left to read from. That night, I sat on the dock, the reflection of the moon rippling across the water. For months, this place had been a battlefield. Now, it was silent, but not at peace. Sophia joined me, handing me a cup of coffee. You know she's done, right? Maybe, I said, staring into the dark. But people like Lydia don't die easy. They find new ways to haunt you. She smiled faintly. Then we'll just keep the cameras rolling. I watched the faint lights of Pine Hollow flicker in the distance, a neighborhood built on fear, lies, and control. But tomorrow, that would start to change. Because tomorrow, I was taking Lydia down in front of everyone. I'd spent the night rehearsing every word, every piece of evidence, until my voice was hoarse and my hands shook from too much coffee. Sophia stayed up editing footage. Walter triple-checked every document. By sunrise, we had one goal: end Lydia's reign for good. When we arrived at the HOA building, the parking lot was overflowing. Residents packed the hallways, whispering nervously. News cameras waited outside. Lydia had called for an urgent clarification meeting, probably expecting to control the narrative again. Not this time. She sat at the head table, her usual navy suit immaculate, smile calculated. Before we begin, she announced, I'd like to address the recent false allegations circulating online. I stood before she could continue. Then you'll want to stay seated for this. The room went still. I placed Walter's folder on the table, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Everything you've done, Lydia, every lie, every forged signature, every dollar you stole, ends today. Gasps erupted. Lydia's smile twitched, but didn't break. Mr. Harper, Please refrain from making baseless accusations. You've already proven your instability. Baseless? I flipped open the folder and projected Sophia's footage on the wall. The grainy night vision image of Lydia in a hazmat suit froze the room cold. That's you, I said softly. Caught cleaning up the contamination you created to frame me, her face drained of color. That could be anyone. Really? Sophia stepped forward, remote in hand. Let's zoom in. The video replayed, and this time the camera closed in on Lydia's face. Every line, every feature, unmistakable. A murmur rolled through the crowd. Someone gasped. Another whispered, "My God." Walter followed with the old county covenant, the conservation easement Lydia didn't know existed. This document, he declared, voice steady, protects Harper Lake and its surrounding land from any transfer, sale, or development. It's federal law. Every move this woman made was illegal. Lydia's hands trembled as she gripped the table edge. That can't be real. Oh, it's real, I said, holding up the certified county seal. My grandfather helped draft it. You picked the wrong family to steal from. Nate Powell jumped to his feet, pointing at Lydia. You told us the lake was community property. You made us sign petitions, donate money. She spun toward him, eyes wild. You think you're innocent? You enforced my orders. Because you lied to us, he barked. The meeting dissolved into chaos. Residents shouted, some filming, others demanding answers. Clara Hayes stood up, her voice cutting through the noise. Lydia forged my signature on financial reports. I saw it last week and was too scared to say anything. Not anymore. Sophia streamed everything live, comments flooding in faster than she could read them. Number HOA exposed trended within minutes. Lydia tried to rise, but Luke stepped forward, his badge gleaming. Sit down, Lydia. The air froze. He looked older somehow, like the weight of his guilt had finally aged him overnight. I lied for you, he said quietly. You blackmailed me, threatened my family. But not anymore. The recording's already with the state attorney. What recording? She demanded, her voice cracking. Luke met her gaze. Steady now. The one where you bragged about selling Harper's land to developers for a commission. The one where you said you'd driven out 6 families with fake fines. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Lydia's confidence shattered completely. She lunged toward Luke, shouting, You think they'll believe you? You're nothing without me. He stepped back, unshaken. Then I guess I'll find out in court. The room erupted again, this time in applause. Cameras flashed. The board members backed away from Lydia like she was radioactive. I want her arrested, someone shouted. Luke nodded. She will be. 2 deputies entered and led her out, her designer heels clicking against the floor like a metronome of defeat. As she passed me, she stopped long enough to hiss, You think this is over? You'll regret humiliating me. I smiled. You already did that yourself. The door slammed shut behind her, leaving silence thick as fog. For the first time in months, I could breathe. The investigation that followed was bigger than anyone expected. Lydia hadn't just tampered with property lines. She'd built a criminal empire. Fake environmental complaints, embezzlement, tax fraud, developer kickbacks. She'd used the HOA like a weapon, bleeding her neighbors dry while pretending to protect them. Walter and I were called to testify. Sophia's footage became evidence. Clara's statements confirmed the forgery. Even Nate came clean, handing over Lydia's private emails. By the time the trial began, the entire county was watching. The courthouse was packed. Lydia sat at the defendant's table, hair loose, eyes hollow. Gone was the Queen of Pine Hollow. In her place sat a woman stripped of power and pretense. Then the surprise witness entered. Mr. Harold Vance, please take the stand. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Harold Vance, the treasurer Lydia had claimed had vanished with HOA funds, walked in wearing a sharp suit and calm smile. Miss, Werrick framed me, he said, voice steady. When I discovered her embezzlement, she threatened my life. I've been working with federal investigators ever since. He produced box after box of records, every transaction, every forged signature. Lydia tried to interrupt, screaming about conspiracies, but the judge silenced her with a single gavel strike. Enough, Miss Warwick. The evidence speaks louder than your denials. And it did. The paper trail was undeniable. Money funneled through shell companies, bribes to county officials, plans to sell Harper Lake and neighboring properties to developers for millions. The prosecutor delivered the final blow. Your Honor, Lydia Warwick's greed poisoned more than a lake. It poisoned an entire community. The judge's gavel came down like thunder. Guilty on all counts. Lydia got 25 years in federal prison. No parole, no appeals. Her empire collapsed overnight. The HOA was dissolved by court order. Its funds returned to the residents she'd exploited. The county issued a public apology for its complicity. My name was cleared. Harper Lake was recognized as a federally protected landmark, safe forever under the conservation easement my grandfather had created half a century earlier. The victory was surreal, but standing there at the lake's edge, watching the sunset ripple across the water, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt peaceful. For the first time in months, no one told me to leave my own land. The weekend after the verdict, the neighborhood gathered for the first real community event the lake had ever seen. No banners, no admission fees, no speeches, just people, laughing, grilling, kids splashing in the shallows. Walter held court by the fire pit, telling stories about my grandfather, how they used to fish here until their fingers went numb. Clara brought apple pie as a peace offering. Even Luke came, looking lighter than I'd ever seen him. Sophia streamed the event live, reading comments from people across the country. Justice for Evan trended again, this time not as outrage, but celebration. She smiled, turning her camera toward me. So, Mr. Harper, what's next? I stared at the lake, the reflection of the sunset bleeding gold and red across the surface. Maybe I finally fish in peace, I said, grinning. Or maybe I make sure no one else ever goes through what we did. That line went viral overnight. People started donating to a fund Sophia and I created, the Harper Defense Foundation, to help homeowners fight corrupt associations. Within weeks, we'd raised enough to hire attorneys for 3 families. Walter called it poetic justice. I called it survival. Because if there's one thing this war taught me, it's that corruption hides best behind polite smiles and neighborhood watch signs. And it only ends when someone decides to fight back. Months later, I stood alone on the dock, a fishing rod in one hand, coffee in the other. Ducks drifted across the water, just like they did when I was a kid. The world felt quiet again. Sophia's documentary crew had just wrapped filming. They titled it The HOA War, How One Man Fought Back. Netflix wanted it. I didn't care about fame, I just wanted the truth out there. The final scene they shot was me casting my line. The ripples spreading wide across the lake, proof that peace, once stolen, can still return. As I packed up to leave, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Enjoy your victory, Harper. You've won a battle, not the war. I smiled, pocketing the phone. Then, I guess I'll be ready for the sequel, because this fight was bigger than Pine Hollow. It was about every homeowner bullied, every neighbor silenced, every person who ever stood alone against power. My grandfather once told me, never let anyone take what's rightfully yours. He was right, and now, thanks to him, that lesson lives on. The HOA war may be over, but its legacy remains. That one voice, backed by truth, can take down an empire built on lies. So, if you've ever been pushed, cornered, or told you don't belong, remember this story. Stand tall, fight back, because sometimes the good guys really do win. And if it happened to you, what would you do?